Go ahead.
Well, that was the first time I didn't hear. Now we are recording, so. Well, thank you everyone for coming today. You know, it's such a wonderful thing to see people really publicly stand up for what they believe in, and our mission couldn't be more important right now. And with Nevada being the third fastest growing state with people with Alzheimer's and dementia, it is so important that we kind of come together and fight for this cause. So one, thank you so much for being here, each and every one of you. So we have 22 Nevadan advocates registered. So a big round of applause to everybody. Like I said, it takes a little bit of work, you know, these meetings, these calls, just to get educated on, you know, on our bills, our mission. It's a lot to kind of retain. But, you know, every one of us has stories, and it's just so important to, you know, to get some of this work moved forward. And really, policy is the #1 fastest and most impactful way to move our mission. It really is. So we have 4 Nevada members of Congress and 2 U.S. senators. That's Senator Catherine Cortez Masto and Senator Jackie Rosen. So I don't know, raise your hand if you've been in one of these meetings before, or if you've gone to forum before. Anybody? Couple? Okay, yay. I know we've, a couple of us have gone, you know, whether in person, but this is a little different because it's virtual, but it's a great opportunity. I just attended this same meeting for Arizona a few hours ago. And after this meeting, you're going to be completely prepared for what's next, and you're going to feel really comfortable. So we're going to have talk about virtual meeting tips, storytelling. So just kind of be thinking about that. Everyone has that personal, you know, life event, and, you know, they have, whether you're just, you know, you've lived this or you're just fighting to end alls, you know, you've got that that story. We actually have 5 asks. We had a new late one that came on board, but it's very, very important, and, you know, we'll talk more about that. Social media reminders. There's so many of our policymakers that use social media, and I think Twitter is like the #1 one that they use. So we will show you just how to get the word out via social media. And then we're going to kind of break up into congressional teams to discuss these visits in detail. So like I said, you'll know who's on your team, you'll know what your role is, you'll know what to say. You're going to leave this meeting feeling very, very comfortable. But I just want to say, you know, thanks to all of you for, you know, taking the stand, taking the time to do this, and really not only the time to go to these meetings, but all the time that you've put into advocating and supporting the Alzheimer's Association and our mission. So at this time, I'm going to introduce our policy team. So we have James Fitzpatrick. You wave your hands, James. I know everyone knows who James is. We get a lot of, I have to tell you, I get a lot of compliments on James from volunteers. So they love working with him. So James is the Desert Southwest Director of Public Policy. And we have Susan DeMorris, so she can wave her hand. There's Susan up there in red. Susan is our policy director. She from our region, really. So she represents Nevada. She works with Arizona, all of California, and Hawaii. So always very excited to have Susan to be a part of these and to really help guide us with this. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to James and Susan. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and welcome everyone. We are in forum. It is forum all day, every day, it seems. And I'm really, really excited for this year. Considering that last year's our forum was canceled due to COVID, it's exciting that it's virtual and we have more advocates representation from the state than we've ever had in the past. So I'm definitely really, really excited. Just quick housekeeping. I can't see any of you. So if you have any questions, either put it in the chat and Susan will read it, or just shout it out. I know none of you guys are shy. This is a forum for us. This is a forum for us actually to be able to talk and speak to one another. So if you have your hand raised and you think I'm ignoring you, I'm not. I just can't see you. So I apologize. With that, want to take a quick temperature poll from everybody. And if you can, put in the chat, how are you feeling heading into Advocacy Forum next week? And these are just some suggestions that you can put down, or you can put whatever you'd like, but we'll take a couple of moments for you guys to write, how are you feeling going into next week?
Excited from Kenya. Fired up from Sarah. Amy's very excited and a little confused. Catherine wishing we were meeting in person. Joe's excited. Kat's inspired by the great asks. Nikki's looking forward to it.
Great. I will tell all of you that I am both excited and nervous. But I think I might always be excited and nervous. So regardless of what happens, at this point, you know, we're gonna be as prepared. And Amy, trust me, if we don't answer any of your potential questions that you may have, we can always talk offline, because I want to make sure that you're all comfortable going into this. We have some amazing veterans that have been doing in-state congressional meetings for years. We have veterans that have gone to the Advocacy Forum. It looks a little different. It's a virtual meeting, but you know, we were very, very successful all last year, and what, 8 months of it was all 9 months of it was all virtual, and we had 4 pieces, all 4 of our asks last year pass. I'm definitely looking forward to going into this, even though I wish we were all in DC. But you know, at this point, it is what it is. It's not like we haven't been dealing with this for a year. I will let you know, if you've never participated in Forum before, State Caucus is the very last thing that we do the last day before the next day when we go have our legislative meetings. I didn't want to schedule this on Friday because I know it's Friday, and I know everybody just loves one more Zoom meeting. But we're going into this with an open mind, and it's going to be fantastic. What we're going to be going over today, to get started, we wanted to give you a walkthrough of what a congressional meeting might look like. I know you guys, for the most part, have all been participating in these over the last year, but we're going to break this down into 5 steps: the who, the why, the what, the how, and the now what. The goal of each congressional meeting is for advocates to be able to connect your real life experience with the legislators and their staff, and for them to ultimately support our asks. This is grassroots advocacy at its best. The DC office has requested, when we're doing the asks during the legislative meetings, that we do it in this order. We do have 5 asks. For those of you that have participated in Forum before, usually we learn our asks a day or two, well, actually the day before we go and do legislative meetings. So this is the format. We do have our Comprehensive Care for Alzheimer's Act, which was introduced a couple of weeks ago. We have our new Enact Act that was introduced yesterday. And I will let you guys know that I'm still learning the language as well. There's a reason why we can actually read the fact sheets, but know that I'm not well versed in the Enact Act either. And then we have our 2 appropriations asks and the Caregiver Support Act. So we will be really busy during our meetings. When we start a meeting, you will usually be asked to introduce yourself or establish the who. Introducing yourself may seem like a simple task. It's something we do daily, but I want to challenge you today to think about your introduction in this way. What 3 things do you want your member to remember about you? We call these our 3 key identifying factors. How are you going to get that member or staffer to remember you? What can you do to make sure that when they think of Alzheimer's, sorry, I lost my place. There we go, sorry. With introductions, I do want to give the caveat. Usually our meetings have maybe 5 or 6 people tops, and even that is kind of a lot. Since we've gone virtual, we've actually had meetings with 10 plus people. Not everybody gets an opportunity to speak. Not all meetings will be like that. However, I do want to give you all the caveat that our meetings with the 2 senators, everybody that has registered, and if you had your availability open when that meeting was scheduled, everybody will be there. So there's a potential that 20 plus advocates could be in a meeting, but we can't be introducing everybody. Sadly, and I don't want to say that none of you are as important as, are less important than anybody else, because you're all very, very important, but we only have, you know, anywhere between 5 and 30 minutes for these meetings. All of your scheduled meetings are scheduled within 30-minute increments. However, if you've been doing this for a while, you know that a 30-minute meeting could potentially turn into a 3 to 5 minute meeting, or a 15. So introducing everybody, kind of want to stick to who's speaking. And if you have more time, then you can, as a group, decide how you do that. Moving on to step 2, immediately following your introduction usually comes with the personal stories. This is the time where you can tell your story or have several people tell their stories. The story is very, very important. For your personal story, you want to try and connect things from our asks to your story. Even if this is a loose connection, try and think about how you can show the real life implications of these asks. Consider why they should care about Alzheimer's. I know it's easy to focus on your story and your journey to get to this point, but think about hearing your story from a staffer or member's perspective. What may surprise them about Alzheimer's? What may stand out to them? If you're an experienced advocate, what have they supported in the past? Or can you make a connection from a previous win? Don't be afraid to let your passion show. Showing who you are and allowing your emotions to shine through can be very powerful. And know that you're an expert on your story, and that is all you need to be an expert on. You know your story better than anyone else. You don't need to know every aspect of every bill, but developing and sharing your story is the biggest and the best way to have an impact on Capitol Hill. You've likely heard about having an elevator speech prepared for your advocacy work. I have multiple elevator speeches based off of what I'm talking about pertaining to the Alzheimer's Association. A successful elevator speech serves as a way to engage and connect with the person you're meeting with. This is where you get to show a piece of yourself and explain why you're an advocate, why you decided to raise your hand and advocate on behalf of the Alzheimer's Association, which we are amazingly and undeniably grateful for. Congressional schedules are constantly in flux, and as a last minute vote or another meeting could pull any of them away. For this reason, we believe that it's helpful to practice different story lengths for different interactions. You may have like that 10-second story that takes place in a hallway or like a quick telephone call. It's important to make every second count, but you should practice to have like a 30-second, 1 minute, or 5 minute story, or anywhere between 1, 2, or 3 minutes. We want to make sure that we're able to have people tell their stories, but also have time for the asks. They're both extremely, extremely important. But your story is what hooks the legislators and their staff in for them to remember what our asks are. For step 3, after individuals share their story in the meeting, then you will proceed to the asks, or the key policy priorities for the meeting. This serves as the what. So we have our equity in neuroscience and Alzheimer's clinical trials, otherwise known as the ENACT Act. Alzheimer's disease disproportionately affects Black and Hispanic older Americans. Although whites make up the majority of over 6 million people in the United States living with Alzheimer's disease today, research shows that Blacks and Hispanics are at a higher grade of risk. Blacks are about 2 times more likely than whites to have Alzheimer's and other dementias, and Hispanics are about 1.5 times more likely than whites to have Alzheimer's and dementia. In 2018, across all clinical drug trials, not just ours, meaning Alzheimer's Association funded or NIH, or dementia-related in general, Blacks represented only 5% of trial participants and Hispanic individuals represented only 1%, despite representing 13% and 18% of the population impacted with Alzheimer's disease. The best available evidence suggests that this trend is similar in Alzheimer's research. A study from 2016 found that among 10 recent Alzheimer's biomarker studies, only 2 of them had recruited adequate numbers of diverse communities. So it's really important when we're looking at research. And what this bill will do is it will expand access and increase outreach to underrepresented populations, increase diversity among clinical trial staff, and reduce the participation burden. So our asks will be expand access and increase outreach to underserved communities, enhance diversity of the clinical trial staff, and reduce participation burden. Here are some potentially frequently asked questions that may come up. The first one is the ENACT Act consistent with the National Plan to Address Alzheimer's Disease? And the answer is yes, it is consistent. We want to make sure that we're monitoring and identifying strategies to increase enrollment of racial and ethnic minorities in Alzheimer's disease and related dementia studies. And another question that we potentially can get is, should we be asking for the appropriations of the $60 million per year authorized in the ENACT Act? And the answer is no. You want to think back to when we were advocating on behalf of the BOLD Act, which is building our largest dementia infrastructure for Alzheimer's Act. We got the bill passed, and then we started asking for the $20 million a year. It's going to be the same thing. When we get this bill passed, then subsequent years, we will be asking for the $60 million per year. Apologize. Next, we have the Comprehensive Care for Alzheimer's Act. And this is just a recap. The effort of this bill, it calls on Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation to implement a dementia care management model to test effectiveness of comprehensive care management services. Our ask is going to be, please co-sponsor the Comprehensive Care for Alzheimer's Act, which would ask CMMI to implement a dementia care management model. We have our appropriations, which they are lumped together. How you facilitate your meetings is totally up to you. You do not have to lump these together. For this purposes, we did lump them together. Our two asks are a $289 million increase to NIH for Alzheimer's research activities, and then the $20 million to fully implement the BOLD Act. And last but not least is our Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Act. The ask is, please co-sponsor the Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Act, which would provide grants to organizations to expand training and support services for families and unpaid caregivers of individuals living with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. I'm going to be completely transparent. These asks, I think, are just awesome. I don't know what term, Kat, you used earlier, but we're really able to see the trajectory of all of the advocacy work that you've all done over the last several years. And yes, these are very, very lofty asks. And we all may become tongue-tied during our meetings, but we're in this for the long haul, just like our legislators are. A reminder, you do not need to be an expert on these bills. The association has created custom materials for each member of Congress that point to specific facts and figures, and it outlines all of the asks. Please, please, please refer to these resources. It is okay if you read. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I am not well-versed in the ENACT Act. I learned about it the same time you all did yesterday. I will be a lot more informed come Monday, but know that these are tongue twisters. And it's okay if you freeze. Feel free to lean on one or more experienced advocates or just read. So how do we conduct congressional meetings? I know the majority of you on this call have been doing this for a while. When we start doing our state caucus, which will be at the end of this meeting, we are going to identify who is responsible for introductions. I want to let you all know that all materials, the leave behind packet, will already be sent to all of the congressional offices ahead of time. So you don't have to, nobody has to worry about sending anybody materials to DC. Can't say that for local, but I will say that for DC. The lead of the meeting will handle introductions, who they are, why you're here. If it's a smaller grouped meeting, then you can introduce everybody else or have everybody else introduce themselves. We're going to decide who's going to tell their story or who are going to tell their stories, who's going to make the asks, and who is going to conclude the meeting and ask for a screenshot of the group. It is okay to directly ask if the legislator could sponsor or sign on to any of the efforts you covered. Anything but a yes, I will sign on immediately, is a no, but that's okay. Advocacy takes time. You guys have been doing this for a while. You know that we've had bills that have been introduced and died in Congress and then introduced again and died. This is a marathon. We are in it for the marathon. Ask if they need any follow-up information or have any questions for the federal team or myself or Susan. If they say yes, please make sure that you let me or Susan know. You could always reach out to the AIM office staff as well. I do know that there is going to be a site for everybody to chat with one another and other advocates across the country. I don't know a lot more than that, but definitely more to come. And if I get a little bit more in the know of what things actually look like, I will send you guys all an email update. And I apologize if I send you a whole bunch. That is not my intention. If you do not know the answer to a question, which could potentially happen, the safest phrase is, I'm not sure, but I can pass that question on to a staff. Or I don't know, but I will find out. You're not expected, once again, to be an expert on every bill. That is why we're here. I am scheduled for the majority of meetings, but I also have 2 states. I will be on any meeting that you want me to be on, and I will not be in the meeting if you don't want me to be. Totally up to all of you. And then step 5. Arguably, the most important part of a meeting is the follow-up, or what we're going to refer to as the now what. We won't accomplish all of our goals with one meeting, and that's why continuing this effort is absolutely critical. Before you leave your meeting, make sure ask for the correct contact for who you can follow up with if you don't already know locally. This is a good way to show a staffer that you are serious and you plan to continue this conversation. Remember, we do want to have a follow-up forum meeting in June with all of our local legislative staff in Nevada. You do want to ask for a photo or a screenshot with whom you met with. Make sure that you ask, that way everybody can prep to look really good. And really quickly, just as an example, this is an amazing post, social media post that Mary Liberati did. We have one of our Nevada state legislators in this image, along with advocates. This is kind of what your picture will basically look like. But you want to make sure that you ask, that way you don't have people with like googly eye or what have you, get everybody the opportunity to smile. And you want to let the legislator know, because they may want you to email them a copy of that picture so they can post on their social media channels. Next, going into social media. The association is really, really heavy in our social media advocacy actions. If you are a social media maven, please make sure that when you do any posts that you are tagging the member. All Nevada congressional members do have Twitter. I can't say for Facebook or Instagram, but I do know they all have Twitter. Retweeting and commenting on each other's tweets or legislative tweets is great. Make sure you use hashtags such as #alls, hashtag #allsforum, ask for alls every 65 seconds. Remember the rule of 3. Mentions, tags, and hyperlinks are all interactive and clickable parts of a social media post, and identify yourself as a constituent. Suggested congressional meeting format will be, we will assign a lead advocate. Usually it will be the ambassador assigned to that member or an Alzheimer's congressional team member. I do know we have some first-time individuals. We want to make sure that we give anybody and everybody an opportunity to speak if they want to. But for those of you that are not a Alzheimer's Association pledged advocate, our ambassadors, we have 1 ambassador per member of Congress. It is the lead advocate. And then we have Alzheimer's congressional team members assigned to a district. With these 2 advocates are able to literally lift up a mountain and move it someplace else. We will also assign who will share their story or stories. We will assign who will do the asks as well as a closer. Some pre-meeting tips. If you can, if you have purple clothes, if you can, rock it. Deck everything out in purple if you possibly can. Want to make sure that you try and find a quiet place with good lighting. Log in 10 minutes. This is a branded PowerPoint that is edited stuff to make it more Nevada. I would say at least 5 minutes. 10 minutes is kind of long, especially if you have back-to-back, and there might be, you might have a noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock where you can't. But if you have the opportunity to log in a couple minutes early, please do. Note that all meetings are scheduled through congressional Zoom. So I don't have any control over the Zoom. So if there's any technical issues, I apologize in advance. But you should all have my cell phone, so you can always text me and I can help you problem solve. Props are always welcome. I have mailed out sashes to everyone. Hopefully you get those starting today, tomorrow, or Saturday. If you have, I don't even know if you guys can see this. If you have a paddle, bust out your paddle. Wear your end-all shirts. Zhuzh things up. Put your walk flowers out. Remember, you are the expert, and they're waiting to hear from you. And breathe. I know this can be nerve-wracking. I know it can make people nervous. I know that some of our elected officials are celebrities. Please note, and regardless of what I say, I know it's different, and I've even felt this as well. They are people too. They work for us. They deserve your time. Go into it thinking like that, and just always breathe. And what does it take to be a successful advocate? You may have heard of the 3 P's of advocacy before, but I think these can be a helpful guide as to what it means to be an advocate. You want to stay positive. The association is nonpartisan. We are a purple issue. It is not red or blue. It's okay if you have a political affiliation. I think the majority of the people do. I can't say that for fact, but I do think the majority of the people do. And that's great, and that is fantastic. When we are advocating, it doesn't matter, purple issue. We want to focus on building and maintaining the relationships with our legislators, regardless of their position or political affiliation. We always want to make sure that we're aiming to be respectful. This can be difficult at times, but a strong advocate is someone who focuses on building a long-lasting relationship with the member and their staff, not someone who focuses on the short term. This is not an opportunity for you to be able to vent your own personal interests. You have every right to reach out to any elected official that you want. Please, when you're doing work on behalf of the association, you're cognizant that you are volunteering and an advocate on behalf of the association. 2, you want to make sure, sorry, getting ahead of myself. You want to make sure that you remain patient and persistent. This takes time. We will not pass all of our bills on Monday and Tuesday. And that's why it's incredibly important to keep up with the work once we return home. We will never give up. Alzheimer's advocates are some of the strongest people I've ever met. You all rock. I feel so lucky to be able to work with you. You just make this role amazingly enjoyable. So selfishly, thank you so much for that. But what you do on a national and global scale is fantastic. You're just all inspiring to me. And finally, we work to unify our passion. Don't be afraid to let your passion shine through in your meetings. Remember that we're all here as one team, one voice. I have seen advocates cry during legislative meetings. I've seen advocates laugh and everything in between. It is okay. It is okay. This is a passionate topic, and it's okay if you show your emotions. So, lots of information in the last 35 minutes. I want to show you guys all an example of what a meeting could potentially look like. Very, very grateful to our California friends who recorded this mock video. So please enjoy. And if you can't hear it, will somebody please shout out because I can't see you.
Congressman Jerusalem, thank you so much for being here today with us. My name is Pat Martin, and I'm a volunteer advocate with the Alzheimer's Association. And Alzheimer's has unfortunately touched my life way too many times, which I'll give you a little more information in a bit. And I want to hand it off to my folks that are here today also to talk to you.
Hi, Congressman Jerusalem. My name is Michelle Makino, and I live in beautiful Montana on the San Mateo County coast. Our father had dementia, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself a little later on. Thank you for having us.
Of course, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Fink. I have 3 generations of women on my mother's side that had one form of dementia or another. My mother passed away from Alzheimer's in 2020, and I live in beautiful, bountiful Brentwood, California.
Great, thank you. Hi, Congressman Russo. My name is Ashley Maldonado, and I also, as my partner said here, that I have Alzheimer's in my family as well, and I live in beautiful San Gabriel, California.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to meet with me. Really happy to meet with Alzheimer's Association today. This is every year one of my most meaningful meetings, so I make sure to wear my purple t-shirt for today. When I was first elected to Congress, I didn't have a personal connection to the disease, but unfortunately this last year my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia. So really excited to learn about what you all are going to be talking to me about today.
Congressman, I'm so sorry to hear about your grandmother. As we know all too well, this disease is a disease of the family. It doesn't just affect the person who has the disease, it affects everyone around them. And I want to start by talking about where we really need your help. And it's an appropriations request for another $289 million for the NIH for research funding. And we've been very fortunate. You've been very supportive in the past in supporting appropriations increases for Alzheimer's research funding. And we are still playing catch up. We didn't put enough money against Alzheimer's research. And it's been proven that like we've seen with cancer and like we've seen with AIDS, that if you put the money against the research, the answers will come. And we're starting to see the answers. The funding that we've already gotten, thanks to your help, has made a difference. Now we're starting to figure out early on in the disease, even before symptoms start, that somebody can have it. And I just think about the fact that in my life, as I mentioned before, this disease, my grandmother first got this disease.
Sorry, that was me.
But it came and hit me full force when my husband got the disease. My husband got an atypical form of Alzheimer's disease. He was in his 50s. We had twins that were in middle school at the time. It took him 4 years to be diagnosed. And there was no hope for him. He died 10 minutes shy of his 64th birthday. So now my mother has Alzheimer's disease. So I've got my grandmother, I've got my mother. And for me personally, I don't want to be like my mother is today and not be able to recognize the picture of her latest great-grandchild. Because this disease is a specter for me as well. And right now we've got 6 billion people with this disease. We really need to get a life for people, a hope for people, a survivor of this disease. So, it's the only disease we got right now in the top 10 that doesn't have a way to cure it or a way to treat it. So we'd really appreciate to have you lend your support and give your support to the chair and ranking member of the Appropriations Committee for $289 million more in Alzheimer's funding. Would that be possible?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Pat. In years past, I've supported Alzheimer's Association funding for the NIH, so this seems like it'd be an easy one to support. Just to make sure that my staff gets the appropriate materials so that we can review them.
Absolutely will. Thank you so much. And next, I'm going to pass it up to Michelle.
Thanks so much, Pat. Our father had dementia and passed away about 11 years ago. And working in health services for over 30 years, particularly with older adults, I saw the effect of dementia and Alzheimer's on the community. We urge Congress to continue its commitment to addressing Alzheimer's and other dementias by fully funding the Building Our Largest Dementia Infrastructure Act, or BOLD Act, providing $20 million in fiscal year 2022 will enable the Centers for Disease Control to award additional centers of excellence that focuses on important priorities such as tribal health and expand the number of state, local, and tribal public health departments that receive grants. And as Pat said, nearly 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's dementia, annually costing about $355 billion just in 2021. African Americans, Latinx Americans, and women are particularly at risk of developing Alzheimer's and other dementias. And about 1 in 3 Alzheimer's caregivers report their health has become worse due to caregiving responsibilities. There's a growing scientific consensus that concluded that healthy living can reduce the risk of cognitive decline and may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. Public health departments can integrate brain health messages into existing and relevant health campaigns. You know, over the last year, we certainly have witnessed the impact of public health education related to the COVID pandemic. And additionally, we've seen the effectiveness of public health anti-smoking campaigns in the community. You know, I'm asking you, Congressman Giarrusso, to support your support for $20 million in fiscal year 2022 to build the capacity of our state and local public health departments to address Alzheimer's and other dementias. And I'm wondering today if we can count on your support to fully fund the BOLD Act in 2022.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing your story and more information about BOLD funding. I seem to recall supporting something like this in years past. Is that right? This builds off of that work?
So yes, Congressman Giarrusso, the BOLD Act did authorize $20 million for 5 subsequent years, and we're asking for $20 million for year 2022 to support public health departments throughout the nation.
Yeah, well, I know public health definitely needs additional resources to do this type of work, so I'm excited to support this as well. Just again, make sure that my staff gets the information and we'll review it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time.
And now Ashley's going to talk a little bit about another critical area of help we need from you, Congressman.
Hi, Congressman Giarrusso. My name is Ashley, like Pat said, and I want to ask you, my ask is to ask you to co-sponsor the Comprehensive Care for Alzheimer's Act. Healthcare utilization is significantly higher among seniors with dementia and Alzheimer's. I can attest to this. My grandfather, last month, he was hospitalized 3 different times. And within the span of 2 weeks, this was really, really hard to get a team involved to figure out what was going on. And to be honest, the annual hospitalization rate is twice as high. And the use of skilled nursing facilities and hospital stays is almost 4 times longer for people with dementia. So this act, basically what it offers is proper care for those diagnosed with dementia. It will include better coordination of care, seamless navigation across the multitude of providers, and timely access to care and interventions. So basically, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation, or the CMMI, funded dementia care management pilot projects in the past decade. And they actually demonstrated that managing the care of people with dementia can reduce hospitalizations and emergency department visits, and improves not only the outcomes of the patients, but it reduces the total cost of care. So it's a bipartisan act, and basically it will end up providing services such as development of a care plan, care coordination, navigation, education, and support for caregivers. And we could really, really use your co-sponsorship on this act, on this bill.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing this this new measure with me. Do you have a sense of how much it costs? I know some of my colleagues in Congress really care about whether or not something's budget neutral or extending the deficit. So it'd be great to know if you have a sense of the cost.
To be honest, I do not have a sense of the cost, but I am sure that our staff can be able to help that and answer that better than I could.
Great. Well, it seems like something that makes a lot of sense, and I'd love to learn more about that cost question as well.
Thank you, Congressman.
Okay, next, Jennifer's going to talk a little bit about help for caregivers, something very near and dear to my heart.
It's very near and dear to my heart as well. As I mentioned earlier, I come from 3 generations of women on my mom's side of the family that had some form of dementia. As I said, my mom had Alzheimer's. My maternal grandmother had vascular dementia. I'm not entirely certain the kind of dementia my great-grandmother had. She passed away before I was born. As you can tell, it was yesterday. So caregivers get thrust into caregiving. We kind of refer to it as the Tuesday emergency phone call that upends your life. And we're here today to ask for support on the Alzheimer's Caregivers Support Act, which was introduced by Senators Amy Klobuchar and Senator Susan Collins and Representative Maxine Waters and Chris Smith in the House. And this legislation would authorize grants to organizations like senior centers, state health agencies to expand training and support services for families and unpaid caregivers of those living with Alzheimer's disease and other dementia. And this is extremely crucial because, as I mentioned, many caregivers, probably the biggest percentage, are clueless as to what Alzheimer's is, what the progression looks like, what's going to be expected of them coming down the road. You know, it's easy in the beginning and it just gets harder and harder. And I have referred to it as being sort of sucked in like quicksand. And I am in a unique position that I talk to lots of caregivers in the thick of things. We've got millennials that are not working because they're taking care of a parent or a grandparent. And we need to do stuff to help caregivers get through this very large, challenging, unpaid, life-upending event.
Well, this sounds extremely relatable given kind of my family's experience now in the last year. So I would love to, if there's an opportunity, I don't know if this is a one-for-one, Democrat Republican sign on, but if there's opportunity to sign on, I'd love to.
Thank you. We appreciate the help, and I hope this is the beginning of more to come.
Absolutely.
Well, Congressman, I want to thank you again for taking time with us today. I know that we will follow up with more information with respect to the cost. Some of these bills have not been scored yet, but it costs. Out of our treasury right now, we're spending $239 billion in Medicare and Medicaid funds for Alzheimer's. So I have a feeling that once we look at the scores of these bills, it's going to pale in comparison to $239 billion and help a whole lot of people. So I was wondering if you had any more questions.
No, I think that's it. It's a big. You all have a big platform this year and a lot of asks. So it's just so exciting to see all the ways the Alzheimer's Association is trying to help folks in my district in California and throughout the nation. With the pandemic, I think we've seen the impacts of COVID really impact families that are caring for those with dementia and individuals living in long-term care. So it seems like you all are thinking really hard about those impacts, and these proposals seem to really hopefully hit the mark on how to help people. So glad that we were able to have this discussion and really looking forward to finding ways to support these.
Great. And would you mind if we took a screenshot, because we would love to tweet this out and get it out, because we so appreciate your time.
Absolutely, yeah. I would love to get the picture, and then can you make sure that our staff gets it so that we can post it on our social media as well?
We definitely will. So I'll get everybody smile. Thanks so much, Congressman. Have a great day.
Thank you. You all too.
So, what did you all think about that?
That was good. Very
What was-
smooth.
What was good about it, Laurel?
It just flowed. It flowed really nice. It was synchronized. I felt like they just really like boom, boom, boom. They didn't they talked not real fast. I mean, it was just kind of like succinct, just really like spot on, and just got to the point. And they shared their stories.
does anybody else think about that? The meeting we just observed. What are some other people's thoughts?
Well, I thought that it was informative in the fact that there were 3 people telling their stories and sharing and separating it. It wasn't like it was a, you know, look at me, I got this to say, and it's this long list of things. It was all broken up and served well. I thought it flowed very well.
Nikki, were you gonna say something?
I was just going to say, I really liked the way that when asked about costs, Pat brought that back to how much money we spend on care. And even though we haven't, these bills haven't been scored yet, just knowing how much we spend. We used to say for every dollar we spend on research, we spend $99 on care. Is that right? Is that still a statistic? We used to share that information. So just highlighting the astronomical cost of care, I think, and that we'll get back to them with more information when we have it. I thought that was valuable. They're very good.
I will say, for those of you that don't know, that was not a real legislative meeting. The congressman is our California State Director, Jared Giarrusso, and everybody else on that is a current advocate. I do want to let you all know, though, that meeting was scripted.
Yeah.
I don't want any of you guys to like watch that and think, oh man, I got a lot of memorizing over the weekend before our visits. You guys already have all of that information. I sent everybody a packet the other day. I will send everybody else a new packet. I will also send you a link so you can watch that video, and I will send you the script. What's interesting and what made it like really realistic is they didn't always stick to the script. And you know what? That's life, and that is reality. And sometimes you won't stick to the script. And that meeting, that it was recorded before the Enact Act was introduced. So that's why they only had the 4 and not the 5. I will tell you this. I've never participated in a meeting where advocates, and if I have, and I've done this with any of you, I greatly apologize that I can't recollect it. But I've never been in a meeting where like somebody told their story and did the ask, and it was very incorporative. I mean, we tend to do the introductions, story, asks, closing. It doesn't matter how you do your meeting. In a couple minutes, we are going to decide how each meeting is going to be, and each meeting could be completely different. And it's okay. You may want to do that format, or you may want to do a different format. Nancy, I agree with you. The fact that we have such 5 lofty asks, it can be overwhelming for that one person that's just doing the asks, and like the person that tells their story, you know, just sits there for like the next 10, 15 minutes. I loved how they separated. We may not necessarily have that luxury. And the reason I say that is once you start breaking out into the congressional districts and those meetings, less and less advocates are scheduled, just based off of, I mean, that's just how it is in general. Currently, we do not have meetings scheduled for Dina Titus and Representative Horsford. These could potentially pop up in your schedule over the next couple of days. So please, please, please check the link that Advocacy Associates sent everybody last night. I have all of the schedules in a calendar invite, and based off of your availability, I will invite you to each meeting. That way you don't have to log into your computer, log onto a website, then go to the link. I'll just make it easy. At 1 o'clock, click here and you're good to go. So with that, before we get into mapping out each meeting, Does anybody have any questions, comments? Ms. Barbara, and you're muted, by the way.
You said that we would log on at 1, but that was Eastern Standard Time, so it's 10, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I don't want any of you to have to try to do the calculations. That's why I put it all in a calendar invite, because your schedule that you received last night is all Eastern. I have everything on my calendar, and later today I will send everybody an invite for Pacific.
Okay.
And I will tell you, like in general, it's only 3-hour difference, but I actually have a calculator that will do the time with me because it's confusing, and I don't want anyone to be confused because it's already a lot. And so yeah. Our first meeting is, give me 1 second. Our first meeting is
Senator Rosen.
Senator Rosen at 10 a.m. on Monday. Everybody's invited to that.
I have Catherine Cortez Masto at 9:30. Is that?
That is Tuesday, isn't it?
Oh, it's Tuesday. Thank you.
Wait,
Thanks
when
for
is
catching that.
Cortez Masto? Is Tuesday.
Thank you.
So I have Mike is not on this call, but he did reach out to me this morning. We're gonna have Mike start the introduction and do the welcome. Because he's not here, we need to plan out how are we going to facilitate this meeting. Are we going to do it in the style of the example that we just saw, where Mike will introduce everybody, but then he will come back and then each person will integrate their story in with the asks? Or we can do it the original format of introduction, story, asks, close. It's up to you, but this is, for those of you who have never been to forum, this is how we do caucus. So do not be shy. You can all unmute and everybody talk. So what I'm asking is, how do you want this format to be for Senator Rosen on Monday? And who wants to do what?
James, do we know how many people are going to be at the meeting on Monday?
I think there were
Right now there's 18 people scheduled for the meeting.
Okay.
So in general, we have 5 asks. You might want to have 5 people speak. It's not going to be all everybody speaking. So if you wanted to break it down where one person will do the comprehensive ask as well as initiate their story, and then we'll have somebody do the enact act and tell their story. We can lump the 2 appropriations together because it kind of fits when you do 289 million increase and the 20, and then follow up with the caregiver act and story. And then we'll have Mike close it. So would anybody like to do the comprehensive comprehensive bill?
Yes, I'll do it.
Thank you, Laurel. What about the enact? Oh, that's a tongue twister. The enact act.
I'll do that.
You want to do both of them?
Yes, and actually, I have to tell you, I am speechless. This is the first I've heard about the enact act, and I don't know if is Kat on the call.
She is.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I remember when we first met and we were sharing about, my working at UCLA in research, and I also worked at USC. And I have to tell you, this just brings back so many memories regarding just research and trying to get people that aren't white, if you'll excuse me, into studies and how to incorporate Hispanics and Black and everybody else. And so this just brings back a whole lot of memories and how to really incorporate other people into studies. I'm done, I'm babbling now, but this really just brought back a whole lot of, yes, I'll do both.
Thank you. Who would like to do appropriations? You guys are not a group that's shy.
James, I'll do what anyone else doesn't want to do. And if anyone wants to do something and is concerned about not feeling comfortable, I'm happy to work with them prior to next week to kind of go over some of the details. If you feel like you need more time and more preparation. And I would absolutely say 100%, they want to hear from you, not us as staff. They really do want to hear from advocates and people who have stories to share.
So would any of you like to do appropriations for the Rosen? Or we can always task it to Nikki. She's got a very calming voice. I mean, you gotta love the British accent. All right, so Nikki, you are the two appropriations asks. And then the final is the Caregiver Act. Who would like to do that ask?
I'll do that if no one else wants to. I'll do that.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
All right. So we have Mike Grimes doing the welcome and the closing. We have Laurel doing the comprehensive and enact act bills. Nikki will do the appropriations asks, and Joe will do caregiving. So we will now move on to Tuesday. Our first meeting on Tuesday is at 9:30. If I did the calculation in my head correct, 9:30 with Senator Cortez Masto. And Laurel, before you ask, let me count how many people are scheduled. There's 19 people scheduled for Cortez Masto.
Wow.
Is that including her staff as well, or is that just?
Just us.
Okay.
Just us. So Jane, you're the ambassador, correct?
Right, but we haven't had very much interaction just because of COVID. I just started right when COVID hit.
Do you want to do the welcome and close?
That's fine.
Okay. Do you want to do any of the asks?
If no one else wants to, I will do whatever we don't have volunteers for.
Okay. So then we will start at the top and the comprehensive. Laurel, do you want to do both the
Yeah, I was just going to say, hey, you know, I'll know the script, definitely. Put me down for comprehensive and enact act. I'll send you my bill.
Laurel,
What?
I can't attend probably Monday. I would love to do the enact act as well.
Go for it.
And I work on this topic for the last 2 years. So I come at with a lot of fire.
Absolutely.
A lot of passion.
I don't own any of it. I am so okay with it. I'll do the comprehensive act.
All right, I'll take the enact on that one.
Who would like to do approps?
Who would like to do what?
The appropriations asks. The money. Who wants to ask for money?
For those two acts or
for the research and bold funding.
I haven't finished my taxes. I don't want to. I don't want to have to spend a lot of time doing something else because I got to get those done by Monday.
It's all, Barbara, it's all good. I appreciate it. Hey, your taxes are gonna is gonna fund research and bold. So by all means, do your taxes. Jane, do you want to do the approps?
I'll do it.
And then we have the Caregiver Act.
I'll do the Caregiver Act. Amy?
All right. Okay, so then our next meeting is Team Ammo Day at 10:20. Jane, don't ask. I don't know. 10:20. So Kathy, would you like to be the lead?
Sure, I will do the lead, and I just want to make sure everyone knows that ours is going to be a phone meeting rather than a video meeting. So yes, I will. Tell me what I'm doing, introductions.
You do intro and close.
I can do intro and close.
Would you like to do any of the bills?
If nobody else wants appropriations, I'll do appropriations, but if anybody else wants to speak, I'm doing opening and closing, so. Yeah.
Would anybody like to take appropriations?
I'll take it.
All right.
Okay. If I might also just say, I've worked with Congressman Amadei for a long time, and I know we're supposed to make asks, but he is not great about, he's fabulous. I love him to pieces, but he likes to be presented things rather than asked. So I would just throw that out there that we just present things to him and we give him the information, because he always says, I will not commit, I have to read the bill. So you might want to adjust your ask a little bit.
Do you have any suggestions for on how we best can do that, like, from your experience? Like, how, if you were going to do the appropriations asks to Amadei, how would you suggest we do that?
I would talk about the two bills and say that, I hope that you will be interested in taking a look at these. Something like that. Just usually I have a folder for him, so I just give it all to him. And he always says, I'm so grateful to the Alzheimer's Association because you always give me these fact sheets. I can read them quickly, but I need to read the whole bill. So he will make no commitments. And that's fine with me, because I think he should read the bill. I think they should all read the bills before commitment, but some people are older and make commitments. But yeah, I usually just make sure he has the information and say, please take a look at this. And, we hope you'll consider co-sponsoring a bill, or we hope that you will consider voting for this. I just try to low key it with him.
Great, it's good to know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't see any of my team members here. I know Nikki's been with me. He's always very grateful. He's actually said, so many people come in here demanding things of me, and you guys never do. So we take a much softer approach.
I will, just to point out, do we want them to say yes? Yes. But I definitely agree. We want them to read the bill. If you recall in the mock video, Congressman Giarrusso did not say yes to, yes, I will look into this, but he didn't agree to anything. Send this to my staff, let me know. I think this is a great, he didn't commit to anything. So, I think it's everybody, I would assume the Rosen meeting is going to be very much, heck yeah, I'll sign on to anything. But we can't expect that, and it's good to know. Thank you. So, Joe, we have you. Yes.
Sorry, it looks like we're not actually meeting with Senator Rosen and with Senator Cortez Masto. That may just be the way it appears on the schedule, but that we are actually going to be having a conversation with Congressman Amadei. Is that right? Did I read that right?
So as of right now,
but that might change.
It could change, but
okay.
As of right now, yes.
Great. And I would say I agree with you, Kathy. I have watched Kathy and Mary and many others skillfully handle those conversations and thought, wow. And he has a number of connections. He has known people, and he always wants to talk about that. And he certainly understands our cause if he's not always willing to sign up to spending as much money as we would like. He's sympathetic to our mission for sure.
Thanks for that.
I agree, Nikki. No, I mean, again, I remember meeting with him in DC, and I so can appreciate what Kathy shared. It's like, yeah, it's true, and I think just to give him the facts, ma'am, and share it that way, he seems to appreciate that. But he is a rah-rah for us. I mean, he's been to the longest day with his horses, so I know that he's in. Had to share that inside information.
I love it.
Thank you, Laurel.
I knew you'd appreciate that.
No, he's a great guy, and I enjoy working with him so much. I really do. But he likes working with us too, because we really sort of soft pedal all this. We're not making demands of him. And I appreciate that. I mean, they do get demanded of so often, people coming in, and so I think we have a great relationship with him. I think he appreciates our approach, and he has said that. So we're going to keep that approach.
Hey. So we have the ENACT Act, the comprehensive, and the caregiver. Who would like to do any of those? Laurel?
I know. I got my script down. Hollywood. Sign me up. Wait, I'm going to call my agent.
Let me submit a timesheet for you.
There you go.
Okay.
Put it on my volunteer hours.
So then we have the Caregiver Act. We have, who would like to do that?
I can do that one as well if no one else wants to.
Would anybody else like to? Joe, it is you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you all. So next we have Representative Lee at 11:30.
James,
Kathy, go ahead.
Can I just ask a question? Do you have any suggestions for doing this as a phone meeting, since we're not going to be able to see him, which is so disappointing that we're on the phone. So I guess we just pretend that we can see each other and just kind of go with the flow. I'm not sure how to do this.
I would say, because you won't even be able to see who else. Each other. Susan, do you have any guidance?
Oh, Kathy, you're just thinking all of you would be on the phone too? Is that what?
He's not going to do a Zoom meeting.
It's a
by phone.
Yeah, so you could all be on the phone too, unless you feel more, I don't know, power when you can see each other, but it's your choice.
Well, we don't even have a link like we have to be on the phone. It's not, there isn't a Zoom link. I would say, Kathy, I would say when I would try to log in, I would try to dial in a couple minutes early. I don't know if you guys will be able to talk with one another. But when the congressman joins, or if his staff do, or if you can say, hey, who's there? And anybody responds, you should check to ensure that Joe and Laurel are there, because they're your speakers along with yourself.
Okay.
I will be on the call as well. So there's that. But I would just like make sure that they're there. Okay. And then you should be golden. I will tell you this. In the Arizona meeting, after the meeting, one of the advocates called, and she's new, never done this, and so nervous, like just with State Caucus, you can see like the shaking. And I told her this, look, if you get if you have a speaking part and you get super nervous, just turn off your video. I would love for them to see you, but if your nerves get too much, if they can't see you, it makes it easier for you just to pick up your piece of paper and read it verbatim. but you can also do that with video. But the luxury that we have is, do I want them to see you? Yes. But if it's a nervous thing and you just don't want in, if they can't see you, makes you feel better, do it. And I mean, Kathy, with you, since it's I think out of our 17 meetings, Amadei is the only dial in.
Of course. Right. All right. I will just be very organized and try to move it along. Are we allowed to ask how long the meeting is scheduled for?
Yeah.
And ask him how long he has. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. All right. Sorry, you guys, but
No, don't be sorry at all. I will say, and I don't know if I said this earlier, all meetings should be scheduled for 30 minutes. But for those of you that are new, I don't know if I've ever just done a 30-minute meeting ever. You know, it's either shorter or sometimes potentially longer. But by all means, ask that, because with the fact that it's at 10:20, you know, it's kind of weird.
What is that?
But maybe he only has 10 minutes. Maybe it's 10:20 to 10:30. I don't know, but it gives you guys an idea, because, you know, I mean, at this point, Laurel, when you start going into yours, you know, you've already done it several times, you might need to condense it.
Oh, yeah.
You might need to modify. But it's just the reality of the game.
Who made you director?
I have no idea. I'm pretty sure they're
I take it back. I take it back.
thinking that as well.
Are you going to be in the room when it happens?
I will be on the phone and I will be in the Zoom meetings. I will tell you guys this, I'm scheduled for all of them. I'm going to try to join as much as I can. But I have full faith in all of you guys. So, you know, I mean, once the meeting starts, it's going to be what it's going to be. You know, we just go in with it like that. You've got this. Everybody's got it. You're all golden.
So I volunteer to take the photo. Would that help? Or
Okay.
does somebody else want to, just because we sometimes forget that?
I vote for Nikki.
Do it.
That's a good job.
I'll take the
Good
photo.
job. So our next meeting on Tuesday is Representative Lee at 11:30. Kat, would you like to take the lead on this one?
I'd be happy to.
Would you, besides opening and closing, do you want to do the enact act?
Of course, yes.
So for this meeting right now, we have Owen Francis, who is a first timer, and I have no idea who they are. Kat and Amy. Would you like any speaking parts? And you're on mute, by the way. You're still on mute.
You can't figure this out by now. Is that in addition to Senator Cortez Masto?
Yes.
Okay. Would I like a speaking part, Representative Lee? Of course.
So we have the appropriations, we have the comprehensive, as well as the Caregiver Act.
Well, since I'm doing Caregiver Support Act, I can do that for Representative Lee as well.
If you guys like, I will do the appropriations. Phil or Coral, or Kenya, sorry. Phil or Kenya, would you guys like to participate in this meeting? And if so, would you like a speaking part?
I am not available for that one, actually. I don't think I'm signed up.
What day would that one be?
It is Tuesday at 11:30.
Tuesday at 11:30. I can do that one. Yeah.
Would you like to do the Comprehensive Act?
Sure. The scripting would be sent to me, right? Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah,
Then
we could talk. We could talk.
Yeah,
off.
James. Why
Perfect.
not?
Cool. So for Representative Lee, we have Kat doing the open and close and the enact act. Amy's doing caregiver, I'll do appropriations, and Kenya will do the comprehensive. And that is it. We're still waiting for the other two. So I might be reaching out to people. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or ask. If you want some scripting, shoot me an email. Like I said, I'll be sending you guys the draft script that California did. Take that and just change it to make it about you. Makes it a lot easier. So with that, are there any questions or comments? Because we're at the end.
James, I had one. This has been such a great meeting, and we're of course focused on federal, but while we were meeting, we learned that our state bill, AB 216, that all of you advocated for, passed off the assembly floor and is now in the Senate as we were meeting. So I wanted to share that good news. Amy was our witness at our hearing. So thank you all. That's good news.
It's great. What I was
Very good news.
actually what I was wondering just real quick is that like the order that we're going to go and everything else, it's not like we have everybody in our team in my living room that we can discuss how it's going to flow. How are we going to do that?
So what I will do today, outside of adding you guys to the schedule, to the Google Calendar schedule, what I was thinking about doing is starting like an email chat with just like Team Amade, Team Rosen. That way you guys can communicate this.
Perfect.
Just because in general, like we don't have the opportunity where like Team Rosen, okay, we're gonna do a breakout session because people from Team Rosen are also doing Team Cortez Masto. And so I was thinking about doing that. That way you guys can communicate. And if you guys want to do a quick team meeting or what have you, I could either set up a Zoom for you or you guys can do telephone or whatever. Just let me know. But I want to make sure, Laura, it's something that I've been thinking about as well.
Thank you.
Because if we were in DC, you know,
yeah,
be like, okay, Team Rosen, come over here for a couple of minutes, and you know,
right. Team
Cortez Master, you just have to wait because Amy needs to discuss this in this meeting first. That's the only thing that I thought could potentially work. But I do have a follow-up email that I'm sending out to all registrants with this video right here. This is being recorded, so I will send you the link to this. I will send you the packet, the leave behind packet that will be sent to all of your legislators. You don't have to send it to DC.
Thank you.
You will want to send it to local though, your local contacts.
Okay.
As well as invites you guys to the schedule. But please make sure that you're checking advocacy associates as well. Because if anything changes on our schedule, it's going to be in there. I don't get an alert. I don't know if there's alerts. There might be a way to do it. I looked at advocacy associates last night for like maybe 5 minutes because I've seen the schedule for a while. So, you know, I've already had access to that. You know, we have, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Where would we find advocacy associates?
Did you not receive an email last night? It was around five-ish.
Yes.
You have like your special, like the email that they send to you is only for you. It's like, that's your special link.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
But to make it easier for you guys, that's why I put it on my schedule, and I'll fill your guys' names into that schedule. But also know that, I mean, with not having a meeting for Horsford or Titus yet, it will have more. So I'll be reaching out to people because we need speakers. We need advocates in the meeting.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so I'll be reaching out to you guys for that. Anything else? Well, great. Well, happy State Caucus. I hope you guys have a very, very relaxing weekend. Please, if I can give you any gift, don't be nervous. We've all done this before. It may not be vernacular that just flows freely, but that's okay because we're in this for the marathon. And Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday is not our only days that we're doing this. So, you know, we're all in this. Trust me, I know. I don't know how, I would probably freak out if I was in a meeting with Senator Lipkin and by myself and had to do all of the asks at once. I would be nervous. And I would read. And I'm telling you guys that as the policy director. I'm getting more and more good with the asks as well. You guys will too, because we're going to be doing this for a year or more maybe. Just these asks. Was somebody going to say something? I thought I heard a voice.
I was going to say thank you to you for putting all of this together and for
Thank you guys
coordinating
for
everything. Thank you so much.
I know it's been a lot of emails. I know that I will say that I'm very impressed with the home office with leading up to Forum. Like they've done so much. What we have been experiencing like since January when the home office has been doing these meetings is basically what we would get in one day in DC. And then you get all of that in one day where we've been able to build on top of it. And then I would say to you, okay, happy State Caucus. We have dinner tonight and I will see you bright and early tomorrow on the bus because we have hill visits. So I'm very, very happy. I'm so excited for all of you. This is going to be a great, great forum. I do wish we were together, either in Nevada or even in DC. Next year will be a different year, but you guys are rocking it. I'm like I said earlier, I'm so happy to work with all of you. It's a blessing. And it's so nice to be able to say, oh, look at what these advocates are doing. I mean, literally success after success after success. So you guys rock it at the state and federal level. So it's just great. And I'm always here for you. And expect emails. I apologize because I'm probably going to blow up your email in a couple of minutes, but we will see everybody Monday.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you, James.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
James.